And at any point, if anyone needs to chime in or anything, go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead, all right? Okay, all right. So my big thing, so frozen faves, personally, you know, myself and my family, we do keep a lot of these on hand just to have. So I'm a big Sprouts person, not to say that you have to be as well, but at the same time, we're going to talk a little bit more about the grocery ordering and that process. But this is kind of what you can look for. So these are four of my top favorites. Any of the Amy's products do a really good job of making sure that your ingredients are a bit more wholesome rather than the side of more processed. Same thing with the Saffron Road. For those that don't know, my wife is vegetarian, so we do eat primarily a lot of plant-based. Doesn't mean that you have to, but at the same time, a lot of these different companies do a really good job of offering you enough protein. So the other ones that I look at are Cedar Lane and then Reds. Again, you don't have to get these four particularly, but what you can do is as you look at the nutrition facts, and hopefully you all are able to see what I'm talking about, and I'll make sure that I describe them in a bit more detail. When you're looking at your labels, some really big things that we want to look at is say, okay, if we're using this as a meal, anywhere from 250 to 450 calories per serving is a good place. For most of you who are trying to execute, you know, body maintenance or maybe a calorie deficit, this is a good range. For someone like, let's say, Phil, who probably needs to do a bit more, we might just need to add in some different oils or avocado or maybe just extra portions of protein or carbs. So again, we're really looking at just getting a good range. Going on the bottom here. So, and here's the thing, when you're doing frozen, especially frozen prepared, sodium's always going to be a part of the mix because sodium is one of those things that keeps the food longer. And so you're going to end up with a lot more sodium. I feel like right now for the time being, we're not in any sort of huge food scarcity. So, but at the same time, if you're looking to, you know, start to work remotely, these frozen meals can be something that's real quick for lunch. And you already know my thing by now. Do not skip lunch. Do not skip meals. Try to do something more consistently. And we'll talk a bit about that during our next call of how to navigate that. But some other things too that you might find with a lot of these meals is they might be higher in sugar. And so my big thing is trying to stay below that 10 to 15 gram range. Again, it's not a perfect product because a lot of these things you can be making from home and they're a lot easier to do so, but these are just more so weighing the variance between cost and convenience. Again, conveniently might be something that you can navigate. And then the other thing that we want to look at too is protein. You've already heard this a million times from me. So a good range of what we're navigating here is about 15 to 25 grams per serving. Reputably, we should be doing that with each and every meal because most of you have protein goals that are above that 90 and 100 range, definitely. So these are things that we want to make sure are a part of the mix at all times. All right, so from the standpoint of canned or packaged favorites, again, I'm a huge Sprouts person. Doesn't have to be the same thing as you guys, but these are some really quick items that my family and myself like to get. You always want to have different canned beans or different canned lentils on hand. You know, if you want to limit the amount of sodium, you know, I printed out or I did a image shot of what we had here with some of the other things that we had with the lentils. So there isn't a whole lot of sodium in these, but what we might want to look for is something that says reduced sodium or no added salt. You can always put them in a colander. You can rinse them off if you have some concerns. But again, you know, primarily for most of you, we should be navigating more whole foods, and you can always do these things in a crock pot or an Instant Pot as well. Most of the time too, they're not going to have sugar contained in there, so you're good to go there. A good range from a calorie perspective might be between that 70 to 150 range, because for those that already know how to do your athlete's plate, this is really only a quarter of your plate. You know, for someone who's a little bit more on the low carb side, like someone like Austin, we might be navigating like, let's say, a quarter cup of what that carb serving might be like. So again, we want to make sure that this is part of the mix. It's always good to have because it's just quick, and you can always make a power bowl, which is something that we'll talk a little bit more about. All right, so don't forget about the raws. Don't forget about the fresh fruit and vegetables. I know right now there's a big craze on, you know, the non-perishables going out of style here, but At the same time, all of these things can be kept for a longer amount. You know, with the lemons and limes, you can always provide a zest to certain proteins. You can always provide a zest to certain salads. Same thing with your peaches and your apples. These are going to be more on the side of like your high volume fruit. So if you're wondering, like with a snack, we might do something that has high volume, because for those that don't know and for those that have already heard this, when high volume hits your stomach, it stretches your stomach, and stretch receptors are going to tell your brain, hey, we're getting full, you can stop eating. So if you're looking for something to snack on and you need to feel full longer, what we might want to do is do something like an apple, a pear, or a peach, and then add some type of protein or fat with it. You know, Phil and I were having a really great conversation the other day, because he was using bananas and peanut butter. Those are really great options too. Those are a bit on the low volume side. So again, if you're trying to navigate a bit more higher calorie load, we might want to do things like bananas or berries, because they're a little bit more on the low volume side. So don't be afraid of the raw. Again, a lot of things are coming out right now about the non-perishables. The perishables are readily available in most cases. So don't forget about these, especially in between your meals for snacks. I feel really good about this. I hope you guys like this one. I don't know why I spent so much time on it, but whatever. These Bitmojis kill me. All right, so food safety. You know, I had an athlete a while back where we were trying to figure out why he had bubble guts for the past like 2 months, and we found that he wasn't practicing proper food safety. So again, you've already heard this before. Wash your hands before and after your prep. We want to make sure that we separate the food, so your raw protein does not go on the same cutting board as your raw veg ever, ever, ever. We want to use 2 separate cutting boards for that. In regards to cooking your meals properly, we want to stay out of that what's known as that danger zone from 40 to 140 degrees, because more often than not, that's where some of the bacteria that's responsible for bubble guts and food poisoning, that's where they're most rampant. So for those that have some sort of meat thermometer, it might be something to test out. You know, I think right now is a really good time for those that are working more remotely to start to navigate different cooking techniques and tactics. And one of those things is just proper food safety. So first and foremost, again, we want to stay out of that danger zone from 40 to 140, which puts us over towards refrigerating your perishables at least within 2 hours. So if you're doing any sort of meal prep right now, or even just your dinners, we don't want that out in room temperature more than 2 hours. So we just want to make sure that we don't go over that, because if something is out more than 2 hours, more often than not, it's going to stay within that danger zone of 40 degrees to 140. For those that are cooking your animal proteins, it depends on how you like it cooked. I go anywhere from about 150 degrees to above, depending on what it is. For me, I like my salmon and fish. I sear them, and so they're a bit more pink inside, I guess, if you will. Same thing with steak, but again, we want to make sure that if you have some sort of meat thermometer and you're learning how to cook, or you already feel pretty good about it, just food safety. And then obviously clean and disinfect the area. Right now, if you are washing your hands, you are navigating sleep, exercise, sound nutrition, then you are good to go. All right, so for most of us, things that we might want to consider limiting during this time, because whether or not you are trying to be as active as possible, those liquid calories are going to catch up to us. So any of the juices, any of the milks, even the alcohol. Again, alcohol, you already probably know by now, is going to weaken the immune system. It's going to impact your quality of sleep. So right now, for those that are practicing social distancing and you're home a lot more and you're kind of quarantining yourself, again, we want to limit the amount of liquid calories that we have, because for most of you, you're on some sort of calorie deficit. And so sound nutrition and making sure that fiber is a part of the mix is huge. Phil, for someone like you who's doing a bit more calories, and Miles is not on here, but Miles is doing the same, some of these liquid calories might be something that's beneficial outside of the alcohol. All right, so label reading. I'm not really big on making sure that you navigate certain parameters around protein, carbs, and fat, unless you and I are going to be doing a bit more specific macro style coaching. But from a label perspective, some of your best things that you want to navigate are things that are going to say 100% whole grain or some type of whole grain label for what you have in the top right here. Let me see if I can real quick. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna get my little pointer out here. There you go. Your whole grain label right here is something that you want to try to navigate from a carb perspective. Almira had a really great question about the organic. I'm not really high on organic because I feel like the way things are right now with supply and demand, just navigating foods from home and cooking them from home is going to be your best bet. However, if you want to be an informed consumer and organic is something that you want to do, that's okay too. So it really depends on what you're feeling and what you want to do. Things that we want to try to limit as much as possible, right? So I'm not really big on the fat-free items. I don't think it's really necessary because oftentimes if it's going to contain more sodium, and so this is just something from the standpoint of more and sugar added or no salt added, because what we're there is that it's a little bit more of a wholesome product, even though it does it to eat has some sort of processing. So I know that oftentimes food really gets a bad rap if it's labeled as news. Again, for most of you, if you're doing things from home, that's the best way to navigate this whole process. All right, so for those that are already working to navigate what's going on right now, I'm really big on the grocery delivery. We actually just looked at grocery delivery this morning. Hold on, I need to get rid of this. Sorry, guys. So Instacart right now, this is primarily what my wife and I use. And so their next window for delivery was actually 2 days from now. So for those that are looking to navigate that process, it might be a little bit more time before they can do that. So you're better off doing what you guys are doing now, which is just going to the grocery store. And in most cases, these places are doing really well in stocking these things back up. I don't know what the Uber Eats is right now. We don't really do a whole lot of that, but this is on there just to make sure you don't have to shy away if you want to get something quick. Again, we always want to practice the athlete's plate to make sure that you are navigating better balance with your nutrition. All right, so I'm going to post this in the meal prep channel later today. These are just some really great grocery store staples. For most of you, doing a really great job of already having these on hand, but these are things that you can just have as you are acquiring. We don't really know how long this social distancing is going to happen. I've heard 8 weeks. I've heard more. We really don't know. So if it is going to be 8 weeks, these are things that you can start to have on hand. So I'm going to make sure that I post this in the meal prep channel just so that you guys have it as a source if you need some different styles of grocery prep or whatever that looks like. Okay. All right, so these last 3 slides are just going to be things that you can navigate while you're working remote. So I'm really big on making sure that there's planning in the mix. So overnight oats is a really great thing. For those that still have access to your gyms, this can be something that you can prep the night before and then heading into already, it being readily available, because these types of carbs are going to help in stores. And so for those that are doing HIIT style workouts, powering things help from a performance perspective. Even someone like Anthony's doing, the half marathon training, this is something that could help too. So this is just a breakfast idea that you can do the night before. You already know I'm all about these power bowls. They're just super easy. So this is something that you can either make plant-based or you can add protein to, but having these things readily available and having them, be, more of the raw variety, you can do something that's really quick here and it's really easy. So you already know I'm all about these power bowls. Last one, stir fry. This is totally easy, and this is something that you can do. Obviously, it's going to be better fresh because a lot of these things, the way that they're cooked and the different styles of oils, they might, wilt. So they're not going to taste good, you know, when they are eaten as leftovers, but at the same time, it's still going to be amazing. So this is where that are cooking with their significant others or friends. This is something that you can do together, so you can really make it part of a family ordeal, if you will. All right, so that's all I have for these things right here, you guys. I think primarily some big things that I want to see from everyone is if you have a meal prep that really worked, that you really enjoyed, feel free to talk a bit more about it. I know you all are doing such a really great job posting these things in the balance. If something really works, I might ask a bit, and I might ask you to hop over to the meal prep channel to teach us how to do it. Because I think the more that we band together right now, people are really going to benefit from just getting ideas. And so you already know I'm really on that. Okay. All right. So let's chime in real quick. Man, I love this. All right. Anthony, any takeaways, any things you saw there that you already knew or maybe you want to start to implement?
Yeah, I wish I saw this before today. But yeah, I bought a bunch of perishables today. I think there were some good insights on buying stuff with no salt.
Okay.
Even though, I mean, I probably need more salt in my diet, given the running. But yeah, I imagine that's like on running days or
Yeah.
non days, probably not so much. But yeah, some good stuff in there.
Perfect. Perfect. Austin Almira, any takeaways, anything that you heard?
I think just it's kind of in line with what we're thinking too, the raw vegetables and stuff, to stock up on that, or not necessarily stock up, but it's readily available. So utilize it. Don't focus on the canned stuff. Hot Pockets. I've been trying to sell them there on Hot Pockets, but she's not buying in. They last forever.
Always count on him for a joke.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Felipe.
Yeah, a lot of this is like really reaffirming for me, just to see, because this is a lot of the stuff that we've talked about. That's my dog. He's got a lot to say about it too. But yeah, it's reaffirming because this is stuff that we've discussed in a lot of our program calls. So it feels good to just really see it and be like, yeah, good. This works for me. This is going right. So thank you.
Awesome. All right, Preston, you there? Check.
Just having some technical difficulties here.
It's all right.
Keeps cutting in and out. Yeah. Although I was freaking out when you said Instacart, it's like 2 days out, because that's my favorite thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. So I had to do some shopping on my own. So for those that don't know, I do primarily Instacart. I feel like a phony as a dietitian because I don't actually shop. Because I don't want to take my 4-year-old there, because any shopping trip is a 2-hour trip and ain't no one got time for that. Awesome. Okay, you guys, I appreciate you guys hopping on. I will repost the replay in our meal prep channel. You guys, I really want to be a source for you guys during this time. Most of us in calls this week and or next. And so I'm going to send out another survey to see if you guys want to hop on back on Thursday, if you're just good with weekly, because I do want to talk about how you can start to be more scheduled, working remotely, and implement exercise and some of the other things that we have all been talking about. So I'll make sure that I send out a survey for that. But I appreciate you guys hopping on, man. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Mad love for you guys.
Thanks, dude.
Hey, Thank you, Desi. Appreciate you.
You got it, man. You got it. Okay. All right. We'll be in touch, guys. Soon.
Bye.